Civic League, we're going to have the top 10, and then afterwards Alex Herlihy is going to tell you about George Washington's visit where he stopped to have a drink at the tavern that's right behind me. Hi, this is Stephen Bourne with the Rise Civic League. You're going to get your civic news, and then May 4th, Thursday night, 6:30 if you're going to eat, 7 if you just drinks, Gibbs Garage and Bar. Come and talk all things Rye, eat, drink, and be civic. Here are our top 10 readers.
Hi, I'm Miles Bourne, a sophomore at Jess. Okay. Select Board accepts library recommendation for 1-year term, but overrides Conservation Commission's recommendation for 1-year term member and appoints a different person. Planning Board is reaching out to people they know to fill the open alternate positions. As the master plan process has started, this is a great time for residents to become more active in Rye at a very important time. Rye Recycling brought residents to turnkey landfill for a field trip. Town approved a new fee schedule goes into effect May 1st for police, fire department, etc. And remember credit card payments starting May 2nd. Rye Community Power Information Night. Participation in Rye Community Power is voluntary. When it launches, all Eversource ratepayers will be automatically switched unless they choose to opt out. Customers who current power use a competitive supplier will have the option to opt in Rye Community Power.
Hi, I'm Stella Pila, a sophomore at PHS. Residents' right to know requests for 120 Garland Road to cost the town $1,200. Property owner posted a legal filing. Civic News has an image of 120 Garland, in one showing the water flow. Annual reports show Rye has spent over $161,000 on 120 Garland Road over the past 3 years. Residents informed the town of the 1993 Barry's Brook watershed build-out analysis and other Barry's Brooks reports. It is unclear if Rye has been using and acting on this information over the past 30 years. 1215 Ocean Boulevard, corner of Wallace and Ocean Boulevard, looking to open a pizza restaurant with indoor seating this summer. Development of property is still tied up in the courts. 10 Forest Green is looking to subdivide into 2 lots, 665 and 667 Wallace is also looking to add an additional residential unit. SAU 50 Facilities team has a very detailed report for the April school board meeting. Link is in the Civic News. Rye Recreation is looking at how to increase pickleball access and leverage the pickleball expert on staff. See new flyer format and musical events in Recreation section.
All right, folks, now stick around to hear from Alex Herlihy. If you were George Washington and came to Rye, where would you stop to get a drink? You're about to find out.
Good afternoon, Alex Herlihy with the Rye Civic League. I'm standing in front of the 4th Congregational Church, and we're looking out on historic Rye Center. And as we look to the south, we have the town hall. We have the beautiful Georgian house built in 1810, 1 Central Road. And looking beyond that, we have the War Monument, which I'll speak about later. And then we have the Garland Tavern, which I'll also reference later. And then the beautiful White House beside the library, which was built in early 1900s. And of course, our lovely library, built in 1911. And then we have the Town Museum. The building dates from 1930, the museum from 2002, the Town Common, site of the first and second Christian churches. So I want to acknowledge the last video that I did. 2 things. I tried to do way too much, so I won't do that this time. And also we had some technical audio problems, so I hope this one will be much better. First thing I want to do is read a land acknowledgement. And this is something that you will find at the Seacoast Science Center, the Rye Town Museum, and various other locations. We are standing on land that is located on Nadakina, which is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples, past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land and waterways of the Alnobak, the people, who have stewarded Nadakina throughout the generations. Now I'd like to focus over here to the south and look at the War Monument. This is a very important monument, except it's not very accessible. However, in 1919, when the Select Board authorized the building of this monument, which was constructed by E.A. Tucker for $1,500, it was very accessible because there weren't very many cars, were there? Certainly nothing whizzing by like today. And so at that time, they put the names of the 36 people from Rye who served in World War I, 3 of whom did not return from the war. They lost their lives in World War I. Of those who returned from the 36, we know a little bit about one of them. His name was Jess Walker. And he, like perhaps many of the others in that group and people from all wars, suffered from what we now know as PTSD. At some point in the 1920s, when he was living at the Walker House, which is the yellow house beside Tate and Foss, he decided that he wanted to live alone. So he left the family home and he moved to the back part of their land, which is behind the church. And he built a small house for himself and some outbuildings. And he did wonderful woodwork. He was a tree surgeon and also quite particular about who he welcomed as visitors, one of whom was Mr. Monahan, who walked from his home near the cemetery entrance cross-country to visit Jess. At some point after Walker died, in 1967, his buildings were raised to make way for additional church parking and back. But not before Louise Tallman of the Historical Society took photos and rescued some of his artifacts, which you can see today at the Town Museum. They're on the stairwell on the way to the second floor. The War Monument not only lists the 36 who served in World War I, but originally included those who served in the wars of the 1800s. And in the year 2000, the 244 who served in World War II were added. Richard Goss was the only Rye resident killed in that war. The names that are missing from the monument are the 39 who died in the Revolutionary War, a devastating loss to such a small town at that time. Also missing are others lost in earlier conflicts in the 1700s and those who were lost in wars since World War II. The monument is not very accessible today with cars rushing by on all sides, but it is hoped in the future it will be made part of a reconfigured town center so that people may easily visit it. Finally, this vast space was originally the town parade where the militia practiced, imagining them marching up and down Sandy Beach Road here. The town still retains ownership of this large space right up to the front steps of the church where I'm standing. The Garland Tavern was active from 1756 to 1810 and was the site of President George Washington and his fellow revolutionary officers from Rye having a few drinks in 1789 when the president visited New Hampshire. Their names are written in the ledger of the tavern, now in the possession of the Historical Society. This is when Sandy Beach Road was renamed Washington Road. Thank you.